Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Mickey STEM, and this is Mika Gorty here, and today we're going to be doing a Scratch tutorial. I personally learned Scratch around when I was 8, and I really liked it. So it was a coding program. Scratch is a coding program that you can use to code games, apps, animations, anything that you want. And it's really fun to use. Also, it can be tricky at times. So learning how to do this is also really important. So today I'm going to show you guys how to get started with Scratch, a couple of basic blocks, and this is going to be part 1. So I'm going to be doing a part 2 where we can go a little bit more in depth and maybe create a game too. So let's get started. So hello everybody, here we are at the Scratch desktop, and this is the latest version, Scratch 3.0. There's an older version of Scratch 2.0. But this actually got released about a year ago, so it's pretty new and it's a lot more easier. So let's get started. So first, let's discuss how this platform works. So on your right, we can see that we have this little square box here. This is where everything's going to be happening, where your animations, your games, and this is where we're going to be running, and your code is going to be imported into this little box and it's going to display. So here you see a red stop sign, a red stop button, and a green flag go button. And down here on the bottom right, we see a lot of different things. So we see there's sprites. Sprites is the characters that display on the side on the screen. And you can bring sprites. You can click choose a sprite. They have a library over here with a lot of different sprites, a lot of strange, funny ones. And they have a lot, so depending on what you're doing, they're probably going to have it. You can paint your own sprite, so they'll give you this little costume screen on the tab here, and you can paint and do whatever you want to do with it. We can also click surprise, which I like to personally do a lot, is they can just give you a random thing. So it just surprises you, like, whatever, this is really weird, but yeah. And your sprites will display here, right here, and you can click the X if you do not want it. So this over here, this X and this Y, is the position of where the sprite actually is. So right now, this cat is right in the middle of the box screen. So right now it's at 0, 0. But let's see if I move it over here, you can clearly see that X position is -145 and the Y position is 95. So that can be pretty important in some cases if you want to move your sprite in a certain position, in a certain place. Maybe if you're doing an animation, it can be quite important. So let's reset this to 0. And let's reset this to a 0 as well. So we can see that the cat has gone back to the center of the screen. And size is also really important. I mean, it's extremely important based on what your sprite size you want to be. Let's say I go and I take this apple. This apple clearly is too large to fit in the cat's mouth, so I can resize this to be maybe a 50. So the cat's clearly the apple's much more smaller. I can resize this to be a 30. And it is much more better right now. So that is definitely very cute. Great, so I'm going to delete this sprite right now. So the direction right now, which we will come to it in just a bit second. So right now we have a show, which means that I can click this slash on the eye and it's not showing. And this means that it is displaying. So another important thing is the stage, the backdrops here, right here. So this is the backdrop, and clearly the code right here has changed, so you can actually code the backdrop. So in a certain time when you're coding, you can change the backdrop to something else. Again, here we have the backdrop library. We have a lot of different backdrops. I love this thing. And you can also paint your own backdrop, which I definitely prefer you guys not do because it's probably very hard. And you can also have surprise backdrop, like the cat is right now in the moon. Strange. Nebula. Okay. So this is weird. And you can upload a backdrop if you would like to from your own desktop as well. So now let's move on to the most important side. Let me go back to the sprites. So this is on your left side. You see this big blank space. This is where your code is all going to go. So Scratch is a drag and drop. So you can drag this block and you can move it onto the side. And this is where it's going to be played. And you can also, these are snap blocks. So see the gray position, you can snap it together and, you know, this is where your code is going to get executed. And if you don't want a piece of code, you can drag it and throw it right in there and it's going to delete. So, I'm sorry, so many updates. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be starting on basic code, what the blocks mean, and how to maybe make a cat move or a different sprite move. So here's the code button. The code tab is where all your code is going to be, lots of different blocks, and we're going to go that in a minute. And there's costumes, just like we saw. So when you upload a sprite, there's going to be a couple of costumes on the side. It is given by the scratch.edu. So if you upload, let's say, I'm going to choose a sprite, and I'm going to choose Abby. So Abby right over here selected. I'm going to go to costumes, and I'm going to see that she has this, and this. So she has many costumes, so you don't need to, she's given this many costumes. So it's much easier to use, preferably. And, you know, you don't have to change your sprite by, you know, erasing a part of the sprite and then adding part of the sprite. It's given and, you know, can be pretty useful if you're creating an animation or a game. So costumes is pretty good, and the sounds is also really important. So you can clearly see that I can play sound, and I'm probably going to reduce the sound a little bit. So you can definitely play any sound that you want. You can maybe, which is really creepy, I think. Okay, it's really weird. And you can so you can experiment with whatever based on what you're doing. And I can upload. So you can see this is choose a sound, and over, oh my god, that's so loud. Reduce the volume. So there's also effects. So there's a lot of effects that you can use if you're, you know, creating a game, and it's really important. Like if you're creating a track, or if you're playing a, or if there's a chewing game, or if it's an animation. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You can do space sounds, sports sound, you can make a voice. So it's kind of funny looking through all of them, but you get the point. So let's go back to our code tab. And we see there's a lot of different colored blocks. Here we have motion. So what does motion exactly do? Motion is basically making the sprite that you have on the screen move. So I can make this move 10 steps. I can move the cat 10 steps. Watch the cat closely. The cat's moving 10 steps every time that I click it. Let me move back to the center. So I can do that, or I can turn, let's say I do 90 degrees. I can make it turn 90 degrees in a counterclockwise direction. Or I can make it turn 90 degrees in a clockwise direction and make it turn back again. So there's a lot of different type of motion blocks that you can use, and there's some of them are complicated. Like you can change X by 10 and change Y by 10. So right now, again, this is related to the position. The position right now for X is 3 and Y is -1. So I'll change the X by 10, so it's going to move to a position of X 13, and I'm going to make this to 9. So I can make this different every time that I want it to. So that's also important for position. I'm going to make this 0, make this 0, and I'm going to make this 0. This is back to its regular position. Now let's go to looks. So looks is really important, especially when you're doing an animation. You can say. Say is also very important. So if I click the say button, it will say hello for 2 seconds. Now it's not a recorded voice, so it's going to give it a little bubble. Hello. There we go. So now you can also say hello just forever. So if the box is not going to go for 2 seconds, it's just going to be hello forever. You can also think, which is a thought bubble. So you can clearly see it's different from the speech bubble. You see thought bubble. And another thing that you can do is you can switch a costume. So based on the sprite, this has costume 2 and costume 1. So right now this is in a walking position. I can switch this to costume 2. It is in costume. I'll change this to costume 1. And this is going to be costume 2. And I can costume 2, costume 1, costume 2, costume 1, and I can do infinitely many times. Or you can do it to a next costume. So right now it's a first position. There is a next costume for this costume too. So you click next costume and it's going to be in the running position. So you keep clicking this, it'll just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And again, you have the exact same thing for the backdrops. You can switch the backdrop to backdrop 1. Currently, we only have one backdrop. But if I had multiple backdrops, you would also see that I can change this to a random backdrop, or a next backdrop, or a previous backdrop. So we'll stick with backdrop 1 right now. And we can change the size of the sprite by 10. So we can be growing larger. Or you can do a -10, which means it's going to be going smaller. So, and we can also set a size. That means I want this object to be set to this size. So I saw an animation on Scratch.org where it's a magical thing and it's a magical animation. A wizard turns a frog into a very tiny frog, neat. So I can set the size for the rest, like 20%. So that's extremely tiny. I can even see that. So 50%. And then it's going to be awfully small, but if I set this to 200%, that's going to be pretty big. And these are two very important blocks. It's called show and hide. So for the sprite that is currently going on, I can hide it or I can show it. I'm going to set the size back. This is too large. Again, I can hide it or I can show it. And you can also use that using these blocks of show and hide. So, and this is also a very important block. Go to front layer. We'll be discussing that block in a couple of, maybe in part 2. It's if you have two overlapping sprites then you can say for one spike, go to the front layer. That means that comes in front. And you'll explain what I mean after we start actually coding. So let's go to sound. Sound, you can, honestly, I don't want to explain this right now. You can just experiment. You can click play sound until it's done. And I have basically ruined the sound. It's, oh my god, I ruined it. So you can play the sound if you would like, and you can change the volume by -10. And you can do whatever you want with the sound. So this is the most important thing is, take this out, is events. So events is, as you can see, this has this big curve at the top, means that you can't attach a block above it. So events is kind of like an event. So when something happens, the rest of the code should come below it. So let's say I use when space key pressed. So when I use when I click the space key, some code should be able to happen. And that's what this little code. An event is basically a block where this is the starting point of it. So this is an event, meaning I can put a certain amount of code right below it. So it's like a when. So I click the space key, I can probably move 10 steps. Or when I can choose, I say right arrow, I can move back 10 steps. So this is very important, and you can see when the backdrop switches, I can do, again, a certain amount of code. A very important thing is broadcasting a message. We will learn about broadcasting message when we create a quiz. It's very important. This is one of the most important blocks that I personally use. It's really important that you use broadcasting when you have a quiz, because you are going to be, it's like sending secret messages without displaying it on the screen. And you can also, and this is also very much related to when I receive I can broadcast message, a new message, or a message one. Just give me one moment. I'll be right back. So these message blocks, broadcasting message is really important. So for example, I click a new message. Let's just say hello. And then when I receive the message hello, again, this is an event, so I can have a certain amount of code right below it. So when I receive the message code, I can say yippee, right? So I can do whatever I want with that. And control. Control is also very important. Between a certain amount of code, you can use a wait block. You can wait, let's say, 4 seconds. And I'm gonna just move 10 steps and then turn 90 degrees. So it's not going to execute, move, and then turn immediately, but it's going to wait, I'm going to make this 5 seconds in between. Again. So you can see it moved 10 steps. Wait. Oh no. Wait 5 seconds. Let's move it 10 steps. It waits 5 seconds. And turns 90 degrees. So I'm going to do that one more time because I really much appreciate it if you could turn back to a straight position. Yes. So this wait block can be very useful depending on what your code is. This repeat block is also very good if you're having if you want to repeat your code maybe 3 or 4 times, you can set the amount of times that you want to repeat it. And this forever block is also important. This forever blocks, well, it basically does a certain amount of code forever. So you can insert your blocks right here. And then we're going to discuss this if then and if then else button. and the repeat until, wait until button, and we're not going to use the clone. And you can use the stop all button if it's not entirely necessary, but I guess it could be useful maybe if you're creating an animation. Then you probably would want to use the stop all block. So then here we have sensing, which we are actually going to talk about in just a minute. I'm not going to talk about it just immediately, but we can say is that this touching, we touch the mouse pointer, then it should be able to do something, and that's what we're going to discuss in a second. And we have operators. Operators, I don't use a lot. I don't actually know how to use a lot, but it's very useful for math and counting, or giving chance maybe. That's I guess possible. I don't exactly know. And you can make a variable. This is not going to be necessary immediately, but will be necessary very much soon. So I'm going to write a basic amount of code right now. I'm going to probably I'm just going to write a simple code. So I'm not going to use the sprite. I'm going to want to choose a sprite. Let me check a nice sprite here. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to take too long deciding because I'm still looking through the sprites. I'm going to take Giga. Yeah, I love Giga. So for Giga, I'm going to upload another sprite, and I'm going to choose a sports. Use the soccer ball. There's a soccer ball that Giga wants to use. Oops, so Giga's happy. I'm going to use a different Giga. I'm taking weight. Oh my god, I clicked surprise. Where is she? There. Giga walk. That's perfect. This is what I wanted. There's that kick. There we go. So, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the soccer ball right here. Okay, so Giga is going to be, why do I keep doing this? Giga's going to be in the first position. Giga walk. And then what I'm going to do is, for a little bit there, I'm going to move 10 steps. Important thing is when you are coding in Scratch, you want to start with when flag clicked. This is this flag, so when I click the flag, she's gonna move 10 steps. And I clearly notice it's not gonna be enough. 25 steps. Okay. 30 steps. And this is equal. I'm just gonna do 50. Oh no. 50, and I'm gonna move it back here. Shit. Oh, 55 steps. Okay, seriously, every time I try this is not working. Okay, so I'm gonna remember her position. I want her position to be exactly negative 114 and negative 43. This is good. This is nice. I like this. Maybe let's talk about just a bit over here. So let's move Giga back to negative 114 and negative 43. Oops. There we go. So now when I click it, she's going to move 55 steps. Alright. So see this? That's perfect. So after she moves 55 steps, she'll go forward, and I want her to go to change the costume to Giga Walk 3. So I'll switch the costume to Giga Walk 3, and if that's the case, then I will click, So as you can see, it doesn't look like Giga did a lot. She just kind of switched the costume really fast. So what I want to do between switch costume is I want to wait 1 second. Now let's 114 and negative 43. So I want her to switch back to Giga Walk. No, I want to go back to Giga Walk. So instead of every time that I'm retesting, every time when I click the flag click, I could just switch the costume to Giga Walk 1. So every time that I click the flag, it's always going to turn back to Giga Walk 1. Okay, so, and then I'm going to Giga Walk 1, and then I'm going to run. And you can clearly see that she, wait 1 second, switch to Giga Walk 3. I'm going to make this just about 7 steps. Okay. So there's an issue again. Every time I click the flag click, it goes forward and it looks really messy. So when the flag clicked, I would like to go, where do I go there? Yeah. I would like her to go to a certain position. And I noted that certain position is negative, wait, I'm not seeing myself, negative 114, and y is negative 43. So every time this happens, she's going back and she's kicking there. She's kicking the ball. Same thing for the soccer ball. When the flag clicked, I like the soccer ball at this position. Perfect. It's the position and it's perfect. That's wonderful. So let's see step by step. I'm gonna take this out and so when this happens, she's going back to that position and she's moving it, but she's not moving 57 steps. So what should we do here? Why isn't she moving 57 steps? So let me check. Let me take this out and I move this in. And she's able to move 57 steps, but she's not switching the costume or going. So is it doing it too fast? Or maybe it's not working. She's not moving 57 steps. So what I could do here is I don't know if this is going to work, but I can put this as in a forever block. This could work. Yeah, this isn't working because this code is coming in this code. So I can take this out and I will just click play. Exactly. So if this is the case, then we could just manually move her to negative 114, negative 43, and we'll keep the soccer ball a little bit closer. Wait, let me see where Giga does. It goes right there. So I want her to be right there in this position. Yeah. This could work. So that obviously see that it goes forward. So we can move her back to 114 and 43. So let's see. So we clearly see that she's going there and she is, give me 1 second. I'm going to change the switch costume to Giga Walk 1. There we go. This is working. And I can go to, one flag clicked, I can go to position of negative 114 and 14. So So since this is getting executed at the same time, it's not able to move 57 steps because it's always saying go to negative 114 and y negative 43. So this isn't going to work out. So we can move her back to x and y to 43. So let's see. So after she goes taking a walk 3, she kicks the ball. I want the soccer ball to move, but that's going to be a little hard because we're in Giga's code. So that means if I want Giga kicks the ball, then how do I make sure that the soccer ball moves? So we can go to sensing right now, and we can see that when something's touching something else, then it can do something. So how do I use this block exactly? How do I exactly use this block? Well, I can go to operators and I can use it here, but that's not going to help us. So in motion, I can try to use in this block, but I have the sensing block and touching soccer ball. So if Giga's touching the soccer ball, then it should be doing something. So let us check where I could use that block. And we should definitely try to keep experimenting like this way so that we can get a good feel of where we can use this. But let's think about it. If Giga's touching the soccer ball, we don't want Giga to do anything. We want the soccer ball to do something. So we'll go to soccer ball's code, and I'll use the touching Giga walking. Exactly. So we'll see, not ask, sensing, events, or control. Yes, this is what we want. We want an if-then block. So if Giga is, so you can clearly see that it's highlighted, so this fits perfectly. So if the soccer ball is touching Giga walking, then we can put a certain amount of code here. So as you can see, I didn't know immediately what I should be able to do, but using logic, and I know that I want Giga to be doing something, then something should happen. She went to the control block and we saw the if then. So then I want her to move. I want her to glide. I'll just move, say, 50 steps. And I want her to point in direction this way. So clearly we can see that this is going to be going south. This is going to be negative 75. We want her to go at exactly this position, 90 degrees. So that can be very useful too. I very much like that tool. So, yeah. So let's check if this works. Something went wrong there. So let's say I set her to negative 28 and negative 75. And I want Giga to be at negative 114 and negative 43. So I think I see the issue is because I think Giga's edge of her hair is kind of touching it. So every time it touches, it's moving away. So that means we will want the soccer ball to be somewhere down here. And I'll move Giga back to negative 114. So I want it to be, where does Giga move? She moves there, right? So I want her to be right there. Right there. There we go. So this is the position of negative 32. and -89, so I'll make this go there. This should work. Right. So every time I click run, I want to switch this to -114 and -43. And the ball should always go to -32 and -89. So I will make sure they're there. And I don't know if it is touching Giga walking. Then you probably want her to move just right there. Let's move her to -114 and there. This, I don't exactly know if this is going to work, but we can definitely try it. So you can clearly see that the ball is not moving. If it cannot see that if Giga is kicking the ball, then I want it to move. So what is the issue here? So Giga's clearly walking, but why isn't this working? So now it's able to work. So I want to click the flag and I want to make it go there. Then it's not working. So maybe if we take this out, then it might work. I'm not 100% sure. So I'll move Giga back to 14 and -43. And I'll keep the soccer ball right here. Oh, no, that's not going to work. So then I would like to, so maybe it's not able to execute this because it's going too fast. Then I will probably take a wait 2-second block. Now I can keep it back. Oh, Giga wasn't touching it. Okay, so that works. Well, we can say that our code works. The positioning, you might want to make it a bit accurate. So then again, we realize that I guess the soccer ball isn't touching Giga's feet. So if we move this right here, and I move Giga just a little bit back, then our code is working. So the thing about Scratch is that not everything is going to be perfect, but making sure that your code is working and keeping it in order is a very important job to do. So I hope you guys had a good understanding of what Scratch is and how it works. And there's so many ways, different ways to experiment. So trying out your different codes is also really, really important. And, download the software because it can be very useful and I think it's really fun and you can learn a lot to it. So this is just going to be part 1. I'm going to be making a part 2 where we actually create something more reasonable than Giga kicking the soccer ball. We might be creating a game. So please do come back for part 2. I'll be making the video very soon. And thank you guys so much for watching this, and I hope you guys come back for part 2.